You all right? My name's Paul. I've got autism and I make random videos based on my version of autism and I stick them on the internet in case you fancy watching them. And this is three questions, a new little bit where I answer three questions in a video that you've asked. Simple. There'll be a bit of a write up in the description of what it is, just in case you're interested. But basically, it's to make shorter videos and address what people ask. Okay, so this one is personal. So I'm going to answer personal questions that people have asked um, because it needs to satisfy curiosity, I guess. Let's get into it then. So the first question is I like your channel, but I'm pogon phobic. Would you shave your beard off? Now, I didn't know what pogon phobic meant, but I gathered it had something to do with a beard, and it does. Um, so I'm not going to mock, because some phobias sound crazy, but I'm afraid of needles. I'm afraid of people with their faces covered, and yeah, that upsets a certain religion, but can't change my brain, can you? Um, but I have to get out the way. I even when I worked on holiday parks and there was mascots walking around, I had to know it was in that mascot. But even then, I still won't go near him because there's something about a face being covered I just can't deal with. So COVID was very difficult for me. Um, and I worked with a girl once who was afraid of peas. I'm not kidding. She was afraid of peas, and that was the first time I'd ever heard anyone was afraid of peas. Heard about it, didn't give it much thought, and then one night she's banging on my door in floods of tears, shaking. Like, what is wrong with you? She's like, someone's put peas in my bed. Right? So went over to where she was staying because we all lived on a holiday park. And sure enough, someone had put a bag of peas in her bed, and she was petrified. And I had to, get the peas out, and then she wanted to change all the bedding. It's like I said, it was gone midnight when this was happening. But she was that fearful, because the thing is, when you say the word phobia, it's for a fear. So it's not something soft where you go, I don't like that. It's real stuff. But yeah, she was afraid of peas, but we're not talking about her, are we? So they're asking about the beard. So I used to, up until probably this year, to be honest, I used to shave the beard off twice a year just to give my face a fresh start. But to be honest, I'm getting older, getting uglier, and I'm getting more chins. So it's not a good sight if the beard comes off, to be honest. So I'm sympathetic if you have pogon phobia, pogon phobia, however it's pronounced. But I won't be shaving the beard off unless it's for charity because it's quite meaty these days, and why not raise some money for a good cause, eh? So no, I won't. I'd just turn round, or turn your screen off. Still be a part of the channel. Just don't have to look at my face. Um, the next question was, would you ever become a vegan? So somewhere along the lines, I've probably mentioned my love for bacon. Bacon's the best. I mean, it's a shame bacon tastes so nice because I love pigs. I think pigs are phenomenal creatures. I remember working on a holiday park in a place called Silloth, which is literally the armpit of nowhere. There's nothing to do, but there was a farm on the site, and I used to go and not play, but I used to go and stroke a pot-bellied pig called Blue, and I used to love having his belly tickled. I used to love tickling his belly. He was great, but I'd go home and have bacon. Um, I'm a fussy eater. I think one of the problems is uh, with the autism. Like I probably eat 10 foods, and I can prepare none of them. I've literally hit a wall in a kitchen. I can't do nothing. So I I couldn't go vegan because there's no way I'm gonna enjoy these foods. Like I tried. What did I try? Beyond Meat. I tried the meatballs and I tried the burgers. They're really expensive. You can't freeze them. They've got a really short shelf life. and they just taste of a very fake taste. But I ate them. That's the important. I did eat them, and if they sort of perfect, because like I can eat a burger, but the Beyond Meat burgers are just not the same. And you go on the internet, and it's always things like, you know, 20 recipes for people who hate vegetables, and they're full of vegetables. And it's like, oh, okay. So there are people who don't like them, but might like them if they're disguised. And then there's me who might not like them because of the way they're cut, because the way that things are cut make a difference as well. Um, but I don't like veg. So that's going to be very, very difficult. And I was in a pub once, and I probably shared this story because it's quite, out there a bit. But I sat down with, I think it was one of my old bosses on a dinner time, and I ordered a mixed grill, and the mixed grill came. I was eating it, and this woman comes over, and she is going ballistic at me, going, "How can you eat that? Do you even know what red meat does for you? You're going to get intestinal cancer. You're going to get bowel cancer. You're going to do this, that, and the other." Going off a nut. Now I didn't even know who this woman was, so I just went, "What's wrong with you? Do you want a sausage or something?" I don't know if I said that, but I said something very antagonistic because I meet people on their level. If she was respectful, I'd have been respectful back. But she just walked over and started knocking me mixed grill, so I wasn't happy with that. And she whatever I said, you need to calm down. A bacon butty will do it for you. And she went so mental, she started screaming at me in the pub, and then she left the pub, lit up a cigarette. I mean, come on. You're having a go at me because I'm putting food in my system which could cause cancer. Living causes cancer, you know what I mean? So she went outside and started smoking, something with no known benefits. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Um, but it really is so much deeper than, couldn't you just give meat up for a couple of days? No, because that's what I eat. That's my thing. I tried something in England called All Plants, which is like a vegan replacement meal. So it's like Hello Fresh, but just vegan stuff and vegetarian stuff. And it was gross. Even the cheese had a funny texture. It was like powdery. Now I know cheese not to be powdery. So the texture was wrong. So I couldn't eat it. And it comes down to your textures, it comes down to the thickness of things, and it comes down to the taste. It comes down to, like, when you're eating meat, it has to have that consistency of meat. I had a Quan chili once, and I couldn't eat it. Tasted all right, but it was the texture of the meat. It was refined, it was soft, didn't have a chunky taste to it, and I just couldn't deal with the texture. So I would honestly love to be a vegan. I think it'd be fantastic. I would love the benefits from it, but it's ridiculously expensive. I ain't got that kind of free cash, and I can't eat the food. So until they make perfect substitutes with someone with a very, I could pick a lock with my mouth. It's that sensitive. You know what I mean? It knows the change of anything. But if that was available and it was cheaper and you could freeze it like I can with the other stuff, then of course I'd do it. But we're just not there yet as a creator of foods. And the last question, and this one blew my mind and had me thinking for ages. I took the dog for a walk just thinking about it, like, what a good question. It's, who is your hero? And I could be cheesy and go, all of you. um, but one of you might be a right tool. I don't know. Um, but the reality is, I've never been drawn to people like celebrities. I've never, I'm not around things enough to go, he inspires me, that guy. I've never been into it. Like, like when your friends fancy a celebrity or a singer or whoever and they have posters of them on the walls. I was never that kid. It was like, they're out of reach. So why would I give any attention to how sexy they are or anything like that? You know what I mean? And I can appreciate someone who's good looking, male, female, don't matter. I can look at them and go, that's a good looking specimen, that is. But like I say, I wouldn't stick them on a wall or anything like that. You know what I mean? But hero wise, and this is going to be a bit of a lame answer, I think, but I used to know this guy, and I don't know why I don't speak to him anymore. I just think we've drifted apart as life happened. And he used to, I probably told you about him. I really think I have, but he used to read electric meters or gas meters for a living, and he lived in a top cottage flat, which is basically a house split in half, and you each have your own front door and a floor. Um, and he used to read meters for a living. His girlfriend used to work on the checkout in a supermarket. He had a little Jack Russell dog, and life was fine. They had no expectation of how they were going to live. They just wanted to be simple creatures, you know? So their hobbies were walking, they loved the outdoors. And when I used to speak to him and visit him and just pass time in general, he always seemed wise because he didn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders. Because it wasn't a case of, right, I might read electric meters today, but tomorrow I could be the boss. You know, it was, this is the job, pays the bills. All right. You know, so his job didn't make him anything other than a number, and all he wanted to be was a number. His partner didn't want to run Asda. She was quite happy working the tills. No messing, no stressing. You start at a time, you finish at a time, you go home. And he used to take his little Jack Russell out with him as well when he was doing his meter readings. And sadly, thinking about it, that dog will either be very, very old or will have gone to the big doggy heaven in the sky now. But they had such a simplistic lifestyle. You know, he still watched wrestling. He was in his 30s. And when I knew him, I was in my early 20s. And he just had a very simple life. They didn't go out drinking. They might go out for a meal once a year. They would have a takeaway, but then they'd always have a plan. Yeah, well, let's go walking. Let's go for a hike. Let's do a wild camp somewhere. And it was just, he was a breath of fresh air to talk to outside of everyone else I knew. And the only difference between him and everyone else I knew is I looked forward to talking to him because I knew we could laugh and it'd be genuine. And yes, he moaned, he would complain about things, but it was never heavy where he's talking a glass eye to sleep. And he was just a really placid dude. And I just think my heroes are people who have found and can maintain contentment. Not happiness, because happiness is something which has to be maintained and sustained. You know, like you might go, I'm really happy, but you can't stay happy if someone you care about dies or something's gone really wrong. You lose your job, your house gets burgled. You know, you won't be happy. You know, and I think if you're a content person, it will help you deal with bad things better. But if you strive to be happy, the chances are it can fall down like a house of cards and, you know, you might go the other way and that's not fun either. So yeah, my hero is someone who can be content. There we go. That's a grown up answer out of me for once. So if you've got any questions you want me to answer, don't matter what they are, they can be, well, within reason, can be as daft as you like or as serious as you want. Drop me an email at oldandautistic@gmail.com. It's always in the description and I'll endeavour to answer them. But until next time, thanks for watching and keep smiling.